Welcome to Behind the Screens, Conversations with Background Screening Pros. I'm Les Rosen, your host, and I'm excited to have you here. On this podcast, we chat with the people who know the background screening world inside and out. Executives, industry experts, legal pros, and more. We dive into their personal stories and insights to give you a real look at what's happening behind the scenes. Whether you work in the screening industry or are just curious, Behind the Screens bring you the real, unfiltered conversations from the people who make it all happen. Stick around for stories you won't hear anywhere else. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode. This, by the way, is a special episode. I should say a special edition of Behind the Screens, a special lineup this week with three very special guests in a really unique format, which I think will just be really not only entertaining, but really enlightening. And we're going to hear from some really great people. We have with us the current chair of PBSA, Tim Gordon. We have the immediate past chair of PBSA, Chad Ascar. And we have the immediate chair before the chair, Scott Maloney. We have the three chairs with us today in one meeting, and we're going to have a great time comparing notes and getting some really insights and finding out what the deal is. So without further ado, let me introduce Tim Gordon, Chad Ascar, Scott Maloney. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you, sir. Excited to be here.
Well, it's a real honor and a real pleasure to have you here, and this is our opportunity to have some interactive discussion and some synergy, and because you guys have all worked closely together, and you had, Tim, this is your current term, Chad and Scott came off your terms really recently, so we're going to have some very interesting conversations. Let's start where we always start. Tell us about your current role. What do you currently do? And as part of the same question in terms of what you currently do, describe your career path and how you got there. So a little bit of what you're currently doing and a little bit of your bio as well, whatever you like to share. And let's start with our current chair of PBSA, Mr. Tim Gordon. Tim, take it away.
Thank you, sir. Again, super excited to be here. I am the Chief Compliance Officer at InfoMart in Atlanta, Georgia. It will be 21 years in December. I started very young. As far as my career path goes, I went to school for acting and radio and television broadcasting, which I assume is the launching pad for all background check careers. Now, when that all didn't work out, I actually worked at Outback Steakhouse as a manager for a little while and realized that restaurants weren't for me. And I had a friend that worked at a company in Marietta that I'd never heard of. And he said, "Hey, we have a night staff position open. Do you want to interview?" I said, "I do. I could use a job." Interviewed, got the job, and I have been here ever since. I've gone through customer service, criminal verifications, drug, and compliance. So I've kind of run the gamut here at InfoMart. And like I said, now I'm the Chief Compliance Officer.
Well, that's fantastic. And you also had the opportunity to work with one of my favorite people, the one and only Queen of Screen, Tammy Cohen.
She's one of the best people I know. I love working for her.
Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, okay. Well, thank you. And Chad, tell us what you currently do and just give us a bio, your career path, how you got there.
I currently work for DISA Global Solutions Incorporated. I report up into two different areas in our operations world as well as our compliance and legal. So this job has really challenged me to better appreciate the staff that keeps the engine running, fulfilling the searches, fielding all the complaints and questions. So it's been eye-opening. How I got into background screening, kind of fell into it. Went to law school, knew halfway through my first semester, I didn't want to practice. It was one of those things like, nope, not for me, but I'm not a quitter. So I decided at least the next 2.5 years of my life were set up. So I was graduated from law school. Started working for LexisNexis, was there about 15 years, working there one evening, and I never answered the call for a display that I don't know. It was a recruiter that asked me, "Hey, we found you. Would you be interested in this?" Talked about it. And she didn't know that I wasn't in Cleveland. She's like, "Is that an issue?" I'm like, "No, not sure." Talked to my wife. From that call to 4 weeks later, I accepted the job and moved my whole family up here to Cleveland. So, like I said, kind of like Tim, didn't think about background screening and it just kind of found me.
And the rest is history. You've been doing
Exactly.
that ever since, right?
Definitely.
Oh, fantastic. So that's quite the jump. Go from LexisNexis. And for what did you do there? What department were you in?
I was in customer service, so I was in news, finance, legal, and business. Then became manager. Original plan was there a couple of years, moved back to Chicago. Did happen, so.
Okay, well, that's fantastic. And then, I mean, that's a radical change. Then into the feet first, into the screening world. And here have you been.
Yes.
Excellent. And finally, Mr. Scott Maloney, tell us, Scott, what do you currently do? And what was your career path? How did you get from A to B?
Thanks, Les. I'm president at Omni Data Retrieval. We're a provider of wholesale information to consumer reporting agencies. My career path is interesting. In college, there was a very brief time where I thought I might pursue law enforcement and then realized that business was more my calling. After graduation, started very briefly in a manufacturing environment where we made automated robots. I was in purchasing and supply chain and planning and all operational efforts. Quickly discovered a connectivity or a knack of connecting with clients in that environment. And then discovered that blending my interests of law enforcement as well as business allowed me an opportunity to leverage some of my skill sets towards something greater than a widget, towards, more of a societal safety influence and a little bit of a personal fulfillment as well as professional fulfillment. So, fast forward 21 years later, I've had the opportunity to, serve on the association and lead this organization, both at Omni PBSA at a level that was probably unimaginable for a kid exploring criminal justice in 1995.
So the combined experience has me fascinated. Tim, I think you said 21 years at
Yes, sir.
Infomart. Chad, how many years you been in the industry?
I've been in the industry since 2013, so that puts me about 12 to 13 years.
Okay, and Scott, you said 20?
2004, 21 years.
All right, so that's like 20, 40, that's almost 60 years of experience.
Plus yours, Wes. I mean, come on, we're probably pushing what? You
Yeah.
want to add more than that?
I mean, in 2 years as a group, you guys can get Social Security. There you go. At least from the screening world. Well, what's interesting, we have, broadcast, entertainment, and so forth. We have, someone, Chad taking a look at the law, Scott looking at law enforcement, and you all gravitated towards this industry. So obviously you guys have had or could have lots of different career paths, lots of different opportunities, lots of different things you can do because you're all, as we'll see during the course of the podcast, you're all just, you're really smart guys. What brings you or keeps you in the background screening world? What do you like about it? Why did you stay? And anyone, feel free to start the conversation.
I'll go ahead and start. I think what keeps me is how interesting it is. It's always evolving, always changing. And then from a personal side, look at these two gentlemen I'm here with. I trust them immensely. We've become great friends. And I feel like the industry as a whole, when you talk about PBSA, has so many people that are there to support you.
I agree. We're beautiful, Chad. And it's definitely me and Scott that keep you in the industry.
Exactly.
But seriously, and Scott, what do you like most about the industry or what keeps you going?
I touched on it a little bit before. It truly is the societal influence that allows me to fill that personal cup. To your point, we could all be building all sorts of things, upwards of automated robots that, fill milk jugs or control the virtual Shamu at SeaWorld, which were all applications that I worked on historically in the past. These are real. But the reality was that just didn't satisfy the opportunity to truly impact local communities from a safety standpoint. Being a dad of two young daughters, it always spoke to me. The challenge part of the industry also keeps me coming back for more. It's consistent. I know I'm going to work on public records. I know I'm going to lead a team. But the next order, the next request, the next file that comes over my desk is going to be new and unique and full of uncertainty and opportunity.
I know. The day you think, all right, I've finally seen it all, that's the day where it hits the fan and something brand new comes up. Like, oh my God, how did this ever exist? And Tim, what's in it for you? What do you like about it?
So I joke because my father, who retired from UPS, built UPS's compliance program. And so it's a little bit in my blood. Even if I got here in a roundabout way, I feel like it was destined to be in compliance somewhere. To Scott and Chad's point about it always changing, it's never the same because we're constantly fixing something. And then once you fix it, something else needs to be addressed. And so it's always a challenge. It's always, scratching that itch of having to find a solution that's satisfactory. The other thing, and I have talked to team members about this at work, we try to approach it where we're not looking for reasons to prevent people from getting a job. We're looking at ways to help people to get hired. As long as we approach it that way when we're working on an employment verification or a criminal history search, or it's a dispute where a consumer has called in, as long as you keep that in mind, you're, like Scott said, trying to make that positive impact on society in some capacity. And that is fulfilling.
And I love when you said, Tim, there's a person at the other end of the searches we're doing. And when I led teams, I try to instill that within my team that this is just another widget. This isn't another thing to get through, kind of humanize the experience.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear you all say the same thing. There's not only the challenge and the love of problem solving, but also the services being provided to everyone, to applicants. It's always been on this high horse that every company should have their best customer service person working with applicants because as a practical reason, it causes a lot less trouble. But applicants are under the FCRA and ethically and philosophically and morally. Even though applicants don't pay us, applicants are also our clients, just like an employer. But anyway, that's my rant for the day. Right? So one of the things that, each of you had different paths, they kind of converge, particularly when you all get on the PBSA board. But it's always interesting to me, and I'll put the question out. Maybe this time we'll start with Scott. Early lessons that you came across, something that you learned early in your career that, we all learn lessons. We learn lessons every day, but some lesson that has stuck with you that, that you keep in mind as you go through your professional career. Scott, let's start with you.
Yeah, thanks, Les. So a couple of mantras, if you will, come to mind. I oftentimes encourage my team to consider on the sales side of the pursuit, the prospect side, that patience and persistence always wins. That it's typically not never, it's just not now. And so that consistency and that visibility is oftentimes very low. The other thing that you hear oftentimes as a cliche is that, perception is reality. And I agree with that to a large degree. However, perception may be reality, but it may not be accurate. That in this environment, in this world, data speaks volumes, and that consideration of metrics and KPIs and relevance in the actual performance can speak very loudly from a performance and relationship standpoint if it's accurately reflected. And then the final one, I think I picked it up at a conference 2 decades ago. I wish I had the quote appropriately acknowledged that whomever shared it, but they spoke about the golden rule. And, the golden rule being, treat everyone as you would like to be treated. And this individual shared the platinum rule. And their position on the platinum rule was treat others as they want to be treated, not necessarily as you want to be treated. And that, those 3 guiding lights for me have really helped me navigate ups and downs throughout this industry.
All right. I mean, that's all great. I love it's not never, not now. And data speaks louder than perceptions, maybe. And the golden rule. It's all great advice. Tim or Chad, who wants to go next on that one?
I'm happy to jump in. Scott, your last point reminded me, and I hope I don't misattribute this. I think it was Maya Angelou who said that people don't remember who you are or what you do, but they remember how you made them feel. Super powerful, and one of those things that I try to embody when it comes to dealing with people. That's a strong lesson. For me, one of the lessons that I wish I had learned sooner was how to stop saying no to people. I think when you approach things with compliance in mind, you have a tendency to be overly conservative and find reasons why you can't do things because you want to protect the company and you want to protect your clients and you want to protect the consumer. It took a while for me to realize that people were going to stop asking me questions because they knew what the answer was going to be. They didn't come to me to find a solution. They just knew I was going to say no. So approaching things differently and identifying the thing that makes me want to say no and using that to guide how we implement or how we do whatever it is we're trying to accomplish allowed us to approach things differently and be much more accepting of what our clients were trying to do or the managers wanted to do. So it became about finding the yes instead of the no. And I wish I had learned that much sooner.
I mean, that's a great insight because no, particularly in the world of compliance, no is the easy answer. Right? It's also the least helpful answer from a business viewpoint. So that's a great observation. I mean, sometimes there are hard no's. I mean, there are certain things that just, in any universe, the answer is no. But that's rare. Usually it's like, well, if you put it that way, no. But if you put it this way, or how something,
It's also more impactful if you don't say no all the time to then finally say no. It means more.
That's great. Okay, well, Chad, anything to add or anything you want to share with us?
A
Lessons
different
that you learned
twist is don't be afraid to ask for help. I'm a person, I want a project, I want to get it done. And when I was younger, I would spin my wheels like, why can't I get it? Why can't I get it? And somebody told me, there are people smarter than you, they have more experience, leverage that. And once I learned that, it's not a sign of weakness at all, but it's a way to evolve yourself, get better, and engage with other people.
That's great. All good advice, and I hope people who are listening will give that some thought. Well, I mean, with all that you guys have accomplished, and we haven't even gotten yet to your stint as chairs in PBSA, your whole PBSA career, that's apart from your other professional career. Looking back, and this is a question I'll put to each of you, what kind of stands out in your mind, a moment that you're particularly proud of or brings a smile to your face, or you sort of give the air of fist bump and say, yeah, I did that, or we got that done. What's that look like for you? Maybe who wants to start with that one?
I'll jump in. The last time we went through our accreditation audit, that you go through a portion where the auditor will randomly select an employee and they're going to interview them essentially. And they're going to ask them questions, to ask them to find pieces of information that you need. You don't know who it's going to be in advance. It's not like selecting a random list that you can prep information for. And so they did. They selected our employee. Her name's Ashley. She's still with us. She's wonderful. And so she got on the call. We were fully remote. So I wasn't even in a room with her. It was just her and the auditor, and I was listening. And he asked all of his questions. And I never worried that she wasn't going to know the answer. I knew with full confidence that she had it in her head and that she knew where everything was. And she did. And it was at that point in time when I realized that we had moved beyond just building a compliance program, that we had worked towards this culture of compliance as a company, and that everyone was bought in and we were going to be successful because everyone was participating in it. And I was so proud of her and of us as a company afterwards. I get chill bumps still just thinking about it. It's been 3 years.
Oh, that's fantastic. Congratulations. So it's like a proud parent of your organization. Yes, we're there. That's great. Scott, Chad, what's a moment you remember in your career that still brings a smile to your face?
I'll jump in. A couple. Obviously, navigating post-pandemic work environment, consistency, reinvention is probably relevant to all of us, and anyone watching can probably pat themselves on the back there. We navigated the 08, 09 recession extremely well, and I'm very proud of that. If I go back even a little bit further, and perhaps not nearly as monumental as a recession or a pandemic, I remember when we would order pallets of paper. I mean, pallets, right? You all know what I'm talking about. And so when we went digital and eliminated that paper bill, if you can imagine the difference and the monumental transition that it created and promoted, that's one of those things that it was bound to happen, right? It was natural progression, evolution, but that palette of paper. Now, the bad news is you couldn't hear the fax presses printing, so you couldn't hear the business and what was going on as well. You gotta have to, change the way you managed and monitored, but that was a big one.
That's great. And Chad, what about you? And I guess right now we're looking at professional accomplishments. When we pivot to our personal, we'll talk about the same thing, but in your personal lives. But Chad, what brings a smile to your face, or kind of a mental fist bump? Or you go, yes.
Yes. I am a compliance person at heart. So being a leader of a compliance team, you have different departments. Love sales, they have a great mission to bring in the business, but we weren't always on the same page. But what really resonated with me was the salesperson that had been with the company for about 6 years. And he came into my office and said, I used to not like you, but I understood what you were telling me, and you were very consistent in what you were saying. And he took my compliance notes and compliance thoughts and embraced it and turned that into a selling point. And he's like, I understand. Thank you for helping me get through that.
That's fantastic. That's part of your natural mentorship, streak where it took a while, you developed somebody, they finally had an aha moment.
Yes. We're all on the same page.
So we all had like proud parent moments where our organizations got to a certain level or did things. Well, that's fantastic. Well, let's move a little bit away from the ins and outs of the screening industry and to related. It's just so great to have 3 PBSA chairs on at the same time. And let's talk about PBSA. I'll just throw out the general question. How has PBSA influenced your career, your professional, your personal contacts? What's it meant for you? And whoever wants to start.
I'll go ahead and start. PBSA has just been amazing. Whatever I do for and with PBSA, it's just a fraction of what they've given me. Helped me in a career path. People became genuine friends that I have. And one of the best things that stick out to me is through the relationships I've developed, I can have these offline conversations about something that I'm struggling with at work and knowing that it won't go any further. And even though we're competitors, we have other stuff, we have this bond that I think is so unique and that makes our industry so special.
That's great. So you have a lot of friends, even these 2 other guys, huh?
Yeah, these other 2.
And Tim, what about you? What's your thoughts on how PBSA has affected your career trajectory professionally and personally?
It's been awesome. It's been such an influence. I got to go to the first, it was NAPBS, obviously, was 2009 in St. Louis. And I haven't been to every single one, but I think I may have missed 2. One of which was because my son was getting ready to be born. But it's so funny because when you first would go, and it usually was Pam, but there was always an attorney that would be speaking, and you would leave those sessions with dread. Like, it was so daunting knowing all the things that were happening to the industry outside. And as you continued to participate and you continued to grow and learn, it stopped being something that you dread, and it started being something that was exciting to bring back. Like, what can we bring back to make us better? And we know what's right and wrong at this point in time, but I think going to PBSA, you get the opportunity to figure out the best way to do what's right. And I think that thing that I take from it at each show.
That's fantastic. And Scott, how's PBSA impacted your career, your professional development, and so forth?
The education and the networking are very similar experiences to these 2 gentlemen. In addition, in an environment surrounded by opportunity, clients, prospects. The association has provided an almost unimaginable opportunity for Omni as a whole to establish reputation and be present and pursue growth opportunities, which really is one of the primary driving forces. I give back so much. I try to give back so much. I try to volunteer so much because it has been so impactful, so rewarding, both from a personal and a professional perspective for me and for my organization. And the community that supports this industry is genuine and transparent, surprisingly transparent, especially given the competitive nature of it, and supportive in a level that is really kind of unbelievable. And so it's easy to develop friendships with, people like Tina and Chad and you and so many others because of the true interest in support at a very broad base.
And I love when you say a community, Scott, because for the shows and the conferences, I see them as a family reunion a little bit. We get together and it's just a blast to be able to spend that time with each other.
100%. I call it like a friends trip. My wife is like, "Are you actually working at these conferences?" I promise we are.
Wow. See, now this is where I have to jump in, right? The providers out there, they're on like a 72-hour job interview, night owls, early birds. We are grinding. Wow. I would agree, Tim. Your wife has reason to suspect you might get
She's going to watch this.
Well, Scott, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, and people have no problem correcting me because I'm often wrong, but I think you were the first provider, not, in other words, a non-CRA in the sense that you don't deal directly with employers, the first provider to hold the position of chair. Is that right?
That's correct.
Congratulations.
I'm very proud of. Yeah. When I started on the board of directors, it was not allowed in the bylaws. It was prohibited that associate members sit in that role. And, over time and through some reevaluation during the move from NAPBS to PBSA and the global initiative and some of those other components, when we adopted new bylaws, that was an adjustment, a reconsideration that I pushed very hard at the board discussion level to allow for folks like me and others that may have that level of interest in giving back an opportunity to sit and lead in that manner.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, good for you. That's great. What's interesting is we talked about PBSA in general, but let's talk about your role on the board and as being chairs. Each of you had the distinction of being the chair of the PBSA board. And, for those of you out there that aren't as familiar with the ins and outs, that's a long road. You start, working in a committee and you're a co-chair, you're a chair, and you get elected to the board, and then you get elected as chair, what is the treasurer, secretary, and so forth. And then you spend a year as chair, and then you're chair-elect. And Scott, I think you're still on the board. I mean, you're a real glutton for punishment. You've cycled through, and you're still on. So why don't you all talk about that? Why don't you share your experience with going through the organization and getting to be chair and what being chair was like?
Les, I know you're hosting, but I do want to point out there are 4 chairs
Oh, that's a
on
very
the call.
Oh, that's true. Okay.
I am curious, though, because I experienced this, and I don't know if y'all had the same experience. The night where you get your gavel and you become the chair. I had a period of substantial imposter syndrome. Like I was playing the part of chair, and at some point people would be like, "No, Tim, stop talking. It's the adults are working." And it took me a little bit to feel comfortable in the role that I actually fit in the position.
It's funny you say it that way, Tim. I was just having a conversation with someone last week that was, kind of expressing similar sentiments around the idea of even being on the board relative to their potential future engagement and involvement. And it did take me back to the first meeting I walked into and feeling quite overwhelmed by the level of expertise and familiarity and respect in that room. And then understanding that, like anything, like any new opportunity, you reach in, you grab a hold of something, and you do something with that something, and over time it compounds and it progresses and it grows, and the familiarity grows and increases. And so that was very much a component of my path, for sure.
or as I've said, going out to pasture once I rotate off the board. Similar to Tim, I remember it was the 20th anniversary of PBSA, and that's when I actually got the gavel. And I'm standing there, and all the names of previous chairs, and I see my own name, and I have to read my own name, and I stumbled over my own name from the simple fact of, oh wow, all these great people that have held the role before me, and then it's me. And I really thought, I was like, well, I can't do too much damage in a year. Let's see what happens at that point.
I will say that having Scott and Chad paved the way for me because I'm following them and it's people that I know, that I'm friends with, that I'm extremely comfortable with, has helped a lot. And I think that this has been a really fun year in terms of what we've been able to accomplish as an organization. We filed lawsuits against states because we find their laws to be problematic for the industry. We have staff that actually works for us, and we finished a strategic plan that we spent the last 4 years on. That you carry a little bit of everyone who comes before you, and it's really nice because you are not starting from scratch. You are just picking up the rope because it's your turn to carry it for a year. And I hope that when Katie takes over in Anaheim, that it's a similar positive transition for her because it has been incredibly positive for me to come after Chad.
Oh, that's fantastic. And that's what I want to ask you next. Although it did make me think for a second that I was lucky in a sense. I had no one before me. So, I had no one to live up to. So that made it real easy. All right. But you guys got to work together. And I mean, that's a great thing that Tim, you brought up. So what was it like working together as past chairs? And I'll make it a two-part question if you want to answer this one instead. What advice would you give Katie? And then after Katie, we have our first European chair. Michelle LeBlanc was the first Canadian chair. So I think that's a really great development that the PBSA has really gone international. But what was it like working with each other? And then what would your advice be to Katie and future board members and future chairs?
It's been amazing working with these two gentlemen. They made the environment so supportive, and I keep using that word throughout this whole conversation. Going after Scott, he was like, I got you. If you got any questions, I can help you out. And then being in that seat, I wanted to make it easier for Tim to take over. So I was really beating the drum on, let's write stuff down. Let's not reinvent the wheel. And I know Tim has taken that mantle and propelled it forward.
And Chad, you didn't do it for me. And one of the things I think that Scott did that was so important too, the things you did for the betterment of the organization. I remember when I was secretary treasurer, there are things that you have to do as an executive team. They're not fun. Like it's painful at times. And the approach that Scott took when he was chair as leader was, how can we improve this? I don't like doing it this way. Let's make it better. And then Chad did the same thing. He wanted to make sure that any sort of pain point that he experienced or that he witnessed got better. And so it's the approach that I tried to take, and I learned it from watching them. It was leave it in a better position than when you got there. And it's been wonderful. The other thing is, and I felt this about them even before we got on the executive team, I always felt like if you took a different stance, if you were the one who was standing opposite of the majority, or if you had an idea that was crazy or out there, I always felt like I was comfortable putting that out there or taking that stance because I always felt like these two in particular, but everybody, were going to hear me and where I was coming from. I wasn't standing out on a branch by myself. I had people with me always.
It's an interesting perspective, but I will add on to the connectivity of the board of directors as a whole, both the board that I walked into that was before me, as well as the board that I was able to sit on and with, and specifically these two gentlemen here. With those relationships and with that work comes a confidence that allows for vulnerability due to that level of support and encouragement, which helps the association drive towards improvement. being able to take a risk and being able to put yourself out there, knowing that, once you pass that imposter syndrome, that people aren't making judgment, that they are in fact there for the same mutual benefit, is impactful for our association and our industry, as it allows for more risk in a evaluation, discussion, debate environment, for sure.
Right. And you're also all had the advantage of each having a tremendous board of directors with you. I mean, talented people who also rose up through the ranks and were friends and supporters and new stuff and volunteers and hard workers as well.
100%. And I think over half of them on the current board have been on this show. So you should go back and listen to their episodes.
Yeah, I think, I will. I think I was there. I remember them. I can't remember what I had for breakfast, but oh, that's great. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the great things about this is just the overabundance of talented, smart people. I mean, people are just smart as a whip, and they care, they're concerned. And what's also interesting is that I have yet, in all the shows I've done, not had an experience where my jaw dropped when we got to the next part of the show, which we're going to pivot to right now, which is, believe it or not, life beyond screening. And I'll just ask you one more question about being chair. I don't think people realize how many hours it takes to be chair. I mean, not only are you have your full-time job as a family member, your personal life, and then your full-time job, but it's kind of the point that being board chair, even being on the board with board chair in particular, that's a whole nother full-time job, right?
It is, at times. Secretary-treasurer that year, that was a very busy year. I assume similar for Scott and Chad, just because it's strategic planning and a lot of the things that you're doing for the first time. But being the board chair, it's a good bit of work.
Well, Scott, Chad, you have the same experience?
It is just short of another full-time job, and it's the worst paying full-time job I could ever short of the fulfillment that you get from the career side, which we've talked about. But it is worth pointing out that, and a big kudos, that the staff and Melissa Sorensen, our executive director, and Michelle Blonde and Katie Sisler, and that entire IMI group, when they were relevant to our contributions and where they were relevant to our contributions, they make the job doable, successful. They absolutely keep the guardrails up and the training wheels on and the train rolling, whatever cliche you want to use. A huge thanks. If I haven't said it in the past enough, I'll take this opportunity to tell them thank you for their contribution in helping lead that forward.
Yeah, it's worth giving a shout out to IMI, to Melissa Sorensen, executive director, Michelle LeBlanc is chief of operations, and then the folks who do the advocacy, and then I guess what's the old saying? It takes a village, right?
Right.
That's fantastic. All right, well, let's pivot. We've been going for a while, and I'm happy to stay here as many days as we like, but at some point you may have to get back to your early lives. So let's go to life beyond screening. I assume you have hobbies and interests outside the world of work. Whoever wants to go first, tell us what you do when you're not involved in the screening world for fun and enjoyment and et cetera, et cetera.
I've got 2 daughters, 15 and 12. They take primary focus of most of our hobbies and events, whether it's transporting them to their activities or trying to introduce them to new activities. I'm here in Minnesota where Midwest weather drives hobby change seasonally. Frankly, we are, as soon as you get tired of any hobby, the season is going to drive you into the next one. So, I'm personally into anything between motorcycles and bicycles, water skis and snow skis, traveling with my family. I genuinely enjoy concerts, outdoor music. We try to have as much fun as we can when we're not busy with screening.
Oh, that's fantastic. So with 2 kids at 12 or 15, that's the age where they're constantly involved in activities and new activities and going here and going there, and you're part professional, part Uber driver.
If it's not on my calendar, Les, it does not happen.
And your kids probably know that. They probably track the calendar really well to make sure Dad knows where to be when.
They absolutely do.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, I don't know how you find time to do between the bicycling and the motorcycle and all the things you described, but that's great. Tim, we'll go to Chad. What do you do outside of work?
I'm married. I have a beautiful wife, Kelly, and I have an 8-year-old son who is starting 3rd grade on Friday. which blows my mind. He is currently obsessed with playing music. So he's got a little keyboard that he uses. He's got different percussion instruments, and it's grown a little more. So he now has a full-sized 7-piece drum kit right outside my office, which is not quiet. But the whole family kind of has no choice but be obsessed with the drum right now and learning how to do that. But personally, I love music or movies and television. I am a big fan of that. And I have recently discovered Letterboxd, which is an app where you can rate and track the movies that you watch, and it gives you recommendations. And I'm almost watching movies just to put them on Letterboxd and not because I want to see the movie. Like, it's so much fun.
I saw an app, I haven't had time to look at it, where I get lost between Prime and HBO and Hulu, Disney, and Paramount. I can't remember where anything is. I know, there's a series I like. Where the heck did I see it? Or Apple TV? So I end up going through every streaming service I have to try and find, Of course, I could always leave a Post-it note, I guess, but, that's great. So you're a movie buff in general then?
100%. Love it.
All right. Well, at some point of that, at some conference, we'll have to play quotes from famous movies and see, name that movie.
Absolutely.
I love that game. And Chad, what do you do when you're not doing a thousand things involved in either PBSA or for background screening?
Sure. So I'm married to my wife, Monica. We're about to celebrate our 16th wedding anniversary next month, which still blows my mind that she keeps me around. But we're going to roll with it. I have a 13-year-old who keeps me on my toes. I know these gentlemen have heard so many stories about my daughter. And what we like to do is we're Disney World people. So for the last 3 or 4 years, we've absconded from the family and went to Disney for the week of Thanksgiving. So we're down there. It's cold up in Cleveland, and the park's decorated for Christmas. So we're about to do that again this year. And then we're actually thinking about next Christmas, taking a cruise to just get away.
Taking a Disney cruise, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Those are highly rated.
We love them. We love them.
So the PBSA conference this year is in Anaheim, right?
Yes.
Right across from
Yes.
Disneyland. Does that have anything to do with your plans and your wife and your daughter, or are you not there yet? Or am I saying things I shouldn't really say?
It's a work event.
I'm bringing Kelly and Owie. They're coming with me. We're not going to Disney. We're going to Universal because my son loves Mario from the Mario Brothers, and they have a Nintendo World. So they will be with me in Anaheim.
Oh, that's great, guys. Well, there's one last game we play. It's called Fun Facts. And you may have heard other guests, but I'm going to challenge each of you to give me a fun fact that meets 2 criteria. Number 1, people probably don't know it about you. And number 2, you're going to get razzed about it at the next meeting. All right. So who wants to go first?
I don't know if I get razzed about this, but I'm a huge horse racing fan. Really look forward to the Triple Crown season. So a couple of years ago, went to my 14th Kentucky Derby. So love the whole mystique and the event of it. And I always say, if I become independently wealthy, I want a stable of horses to try to have a Derby winner.
My God, so, you actually go to the Derby every year for 14 years?
It used to be every year, and then once you get a family and a kid, it kind of slows down. But there was a point I went 7 years straight.
Oh my God! And did you do did you go with your wife hat shopping before the Derby started?
I used to go with my buddy, so we were infield people. Loved that area. He moved away, and when my wife started going, she said the condition is we're on the other side. We're on the grandstand side, so that's where you get all dressed up and have fun.
Yeah, you have to have the mint juleps and the proper headwear.
Exactly.
All right, Chad Ascar, secret horse racing aficionado. That is if I had no idea. Scott, Tim, you guys are next.
Sure. Yeah, the secret might be out to a couple of folks. 20 years ago, maybe more, I was at a Minnesota Vikings game watch party, and a rock, paper, scissors competition began for, free round of drinks or an appetizer or something. And my wife nominated me to compete, and I won. And upon that winning, I was graduated to the next competition, which was a regional competition. I went there and I won. And then I graduated to the next competition and I won. And I was eventually one step away from all-inclusive, full-pay trip to Vegas to compete in the ESPN Rock, Paper, Scissors Championship.
Oh my God. ESPN Ocho, you.
And I lost, unfortunately. Maybe fortunately, I don't know. Being the undisputed heavyweight rock, paper, scissors champion is maybe not a prize I wanted for the rest of my life.
That falls not only under fun facts, but weird and unexpected.
Yeah, very unexpected.
Do you play poker too, or did you just stop at rock, scissors?
No, I tend to lean to complete random chance rather than any skill whatsoever.
Okay, so far we're 2 for 2. Tim, the pressure is on.
So I met my wife at a hole-in-the-wall karaoke bar. And it was my birthday. She came with some friends that happened to be at my birthday party. It's the trashiest place I've ever been to. We ended up getting engaged in June, but on the 1-year anniversary of the day that we met, which happened to be my next birthday, we pretended that we weren't engaged and went back to the same karaoke bar, and I sang to her and then proposed to her again in front of everybody as if it were the first time that we had gotten proposed. We got the worst champagne bought for us I've ever had, but it was a lot of fun. We got a lot of pictures with a lot of people that you would not think you would end up with pictures with when you got engaged.
There you go, folks. Tim Gordon, secret romantic karaoke aficionado. All right. Gentlemen, we hit 3 for 3 on that one. That was each one of you knocked it out of the park. That's fantastic. Well, I mean, it's hard to believe that time goes quick and you're having fun, but a couple questions left, and we're heading towards the end zone here. So let me put it out to the group and then let each of you just jump in as you want. We played the last game is advice for newcomers, talking about people that maybe are new to the industry, a year or two in. Maybe they're a verifier, or they work in records. Maybe they're not a manager. Maybe they're not a mucky muck in their organization. They could be entry level, but my thought is that there's room for everybody. So what would your advice be to someone who's been doing it for a while, or thinking about whether they should join? They've been in the industry for a while, or someone who's just starting out? You guys have seen it all, done it all, know it all. What say you?
Don't make assumptions. That's what they told us the first day I got at InfoMart. They said, don't make assumptions. It's on the first page of our training manuals. We try to live that life. If you make an assumption in this job, in this industry, it is going to bite you in the butt when you least expect it. So don't do that. Just skip that process. Don't make assumptions, and get a good attorney and listen to him.
All right, Scott. So Chad, who's up next?
I say don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to jump in. I mean, I'm linking this back to PBSA. It's a wonderful organization. Membership is strong. And if you're sitting on the sidelines, raise your hand, go up to people and say, what can I do to make this organization better?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think people think that they, if they raise their hand, they're, a great deal is expected of them, and they have to do lots of things. They have to be experts. No, you just have to be a person that wants, to have, some amount of people skills helps, and just the desire to improve and to participate. So, yeah. Hey, I put my 2 cents in as well. Great advice, Chad. And Scott, what's your advice?
I think approach every day with a healthy dose of curiosity. If you're curious, if you're engaged, whether it's with the association, with the industry, you will accumulate experience and network and education, and you will, over time, compound those experiences through the curiosity to drive towards a lane that is evident for your opportunity to contribute, whether it's in the association or inside your own organization. Curiosity did not kill the cat. In fact, it created a huge opportunity in screening.
Yeah, I mean, playing off what all three of you said, I mean, if you're just, working in the background industry and you're just getting your paycheck and, taking time, yeah, okay, fine. But yeah, if you're curious at all or want to get involved, just do what you all said. Just do something. Raise your hand. Get on a committee. Get on a subcommittee. Just listen to the calls at first. Yeah, just be curious. Well, this has been a great presentation. It's been great having the three most current chairs with us and all the great stories and the fun facts. And I'm sure people will be listening and digesting it and asking you questions about it, particularly as we approach the Anaheim meeting, the 2025 meeting. And at this point in the program, before we sign off, we play one more game. It's called The Last Word. The floor is yours. Whoever wants it, anything you want to add or say, take it away. It's your show.
Let me go first, so we can leave Tim with the last word. How about that? First, thanks last for including us. This has been amazing. So much fun. Let me take an opportunity to thank these two gentlemen one last time publicly for their support, encouragement, and endorsement in my role at PBSA as well as in my organization as a whole. Thank you very much. This environment is perfectly poised for expansion and aggressive growth. Our industry is positively positioned for all sorts of new and exciting opportunities in the years to come. So, as I said earlier, reach in, grab a hold of something, do something with something, and see where it takes you.
Good thoughts. Chad, Tim, who's up next?
Sure, I'll go next. I echo a lot of what Scott said. Les, thank you. You are a mentor to a lot of us, so it's an honor to be here with you. These two gentlemen, as I said before, consider them friends. So thank you for taking this wild ride with me over the last few years. And anybody listening to this podcast, thank you for putting up with us for however much time we have. But more importantly, I really hope that you have a passion for the background screening industry. It's an industry that has given me so much, and I really want others to really share that passion and really believe the best is yet to come for our association and industry.
Fantastic. And yeah, the association of the people as well. And finally, I think it's appropriate. It just works out this way that our current chair, at least until October 2025, Tim, the last word is yours. Mr. Chair, what do you have to say?
Well, I appreciate it. And thanks to you, Les, and thanks to Scott and Chad. It's been a lot of fun to do this show. It's been even more fun to go on the journey that we've gone on together on the board as executives, as chairs. It's been fantastic. To everyone listening, I will echo, get involved. I never would have thought when I first went to St. Louis for that show that I ever would have gotten so involved to the point where I would be the chair, that I would get the opportunity to leave an impact on an organization that has meant so much to me. And so it's been fun to do that. But more importantly, the relationships are so incredible. The people welcome you. They are encouraging. They want you to succeed, even if you're a competitor, because everybody understands that the industry succeeds when we all succeed. And so it is best for them if everybody is doing things correctly, if everybody is doing things compliantly. We are all in sync towards the goal of improving screening as an industry. So come to PBSA, join PBSA, get involved, and you'll be shocked at the improvements that it will make for you.
Well, gentlemen, it's been a fantastic show. It has been such a great pleasure to have with me the current chair, Tim Gordon, the immediate past chair, Chad Ascar, the previous chair before Chad, Scott Maloney. Gentlemen, it's been a great panel. Loved all the stories. Love the way you guys interact with each other and the synergy and the way you all make things happen and all the stories you've told and all the fun facts. Folks, it's been a special edition of Behind the Screens with Tim Gordon, Chad Ascar, Scott Maloney, and really appreciate your tuning in, and stay tuned for more episodes in the following weeks. Thank you very much. All right, that was yet another wonderful conversation with a background screening pro. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss an update. And hey, if you got a moment, we'd love for you to leave us a review. It really helps get the word out. For more info or to catch up on past episodes, or to make suggestions or to suggest possible future guests, head over to our website. Once again, this is your host, Les Rosen, and it's been a pleasure to bring you another episode. See you on the next episode. Thanks.